My mother took away the room I paid rent for and gave it to her friends' kids. I lost clients and thousands of dollars. But when I moved out and rebuilt my life, she called me ungrateful and exposed me on Facebook. I'm 23 years old. I work as a freelancer from home. Well, I used to work from home, and what happened like 2 months ago basically forced me to move out and cut off almost all contact with my mom. I know it sounds dramatic, but when you finish reading this, you're going to understand why I had to do it. The thing is, I was paying rent at my mom's house. Like, it wasn't that I was living there as a freeloader like she later told everyone on Facebook. I literally paid her $400 a month plus my share of utilities, which was like another $150. And I had my own room with all my work equipment set up there because I need a specific configuration for the projects I do, graphic design and video editing mainly. I lived with my mom, my two siblings, who are 15, they're twins, and it was a pretty normal situation, honestly. I had my space, they had theirs. And although sometimes there were typical family friction, nothing major. My room was the second biggest in the house after my mom's, but I needed it like that because I had two monitors. My main PC, the laptop for when I needed mobility, studio lights, a decent microphone, and the whole thing set up in a very specific way that had taken me months to perfect. It's not like it was a millionaire setup or anything, but it was my work tool. You know what I mean? Without that, I couldn't work. And without work, I couldn't pay the rent that my mom needed so much, because it's not like she made a fortune at her receptionist job either. Everything started when Patricia, my mom's best friend, since I was little basically, was getting divorced. Patricia has two kids, an 8-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. And I guess the situation with her ex got bad, because suddenly my mom came home one day and told us that Patricia and the kids were going to stay with us temporarily, while she sorted out the divorce and found a place to live. I thought, well, okay, she's my mom's best friend, it's temporary, no problem. My mom said they were going to stay in the guest room we had, which was small but enough for them for a while. Patricia arrived with the kids on a Friday afternoon. I was in the middle of a project with a Monday deadline, so I basically said, "Hi, welcome," and locked myself in my room to work. That night I worked late, like 2 inches the morning. And the next day I left early because I had to go see some friends and then do some shopping. When I got back home around 7 at night, honestly, I was already tired and just wanted to finish the project and send it, but when I got to my room door, it was locked. I thought maybe one of my siblings had gone in for something and locked it without meaning to. I knocked. Nobody answered, and I went to find my mom to ask if she knew anything. My mom was in the kitchen with Patricia drinking wine, and when I asked her what was up with my room, like why it was locked, she told me very casually, "Oh yeah, we moved Patricia's kids to your room because they needed more space. You can sleep on the couch for now." I froze. What do you mean they moved the kids to my room? The room I was paying rent for? I told her mom, "All my work equipment is in there. I have to deliver a project tomorrow. I need to get in now." And she just told me the kids were already asleep and she wasn't going to wake them up, that I could wait until tomorrow. I was about to explode, but I tried to stay calm and explained that no, I couldn't wait until tomorrow, that I had a deadline and that room was my workspace that I was paying for. Patricia got into the conversation and told me in a super condescending voice that it was just a few days, that her kids needed a comfortable place to sleep because they were going through a difficult time with the divorce, and that I was young and could adapt easily. I looked at her like, seriously? But my mom agreed with her and told me I was exaggerating, that it was my house. Well, her house technically, and that she decided who slept where. I reminded her that I paid rent, that I had a work contract to fulfill, and that I needed my equipment, but she just said we'd talk tomorrow and to stop making drama. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed on the living room couch with my laptop, trying to get ahead with what I could, but without my main files, without my big monitor, without anything, it was impossible. The next morning, like 7 a.m., I knocked on my room door, and Patricia's kids opened it. When I went in, I almost lost it. They had moved all my equipment to a corner, just piled up like moving boxes, the cables disconnected and tangled, and they had put 2 air mattresses in the middle of the room with their toys scattered everywhere. They had pushed my desk against the wall, and on top of it they had their backpacks and clothes. I tried to stay calm with the kids because obviously it wasn't their fault, but inside I was devastated. I went to find my mom and told her we needed to talk now. She was eating breakfast calmly and told me to stop the drama, that the kids were only going to be there a few weeks max until Patricia found an apartment and that I could work at the dining table meanwhile. I explained that no, I needed my specific setup, that I had video meetings with clients, that I couldn't be working in common spaces where there was noise and movement all the time, and that besides I was paying for that room. She told me that if it bothered me so much, then I should go rent somewhere else, but that while I lived in her house, she made the rules. That hurt horribly. I mean, not only was she ignoring that I contributed financially, but she was basically telling me that my work didn't matter and that her friends' kids' needs were above mine. Patricia was there listening to everything and didn't say anything, just stayed quiet like as if the problem wasn't with her. I asked my mom if Patricia was going to pay rent for the room since they were using my space, and my mom said no, that Patricia was going through a divorce and didn't have money, that I should be more understanding. The next few days were a nightmare. I tried to work from the dining table, but it was impossible. My siblings would come home from school and put on music. Patricia was there all day with my mom chatting in the living room, the kids were running and screaming, and I had to be on calls with clients explaining why there was background noise and why I was behind on deliveries. I lost 2 projects that week because I couldn't meet the deadlines. I lost real money because of this situation. I tried to talk to my mom 3 more times. I explained that I was losing jobs, that this was affecting me financially, that I needed my space back. She always told me the same thing, that I was exaggerating, that it was only a few weeks, to be more flexible. Once I told her, well then I'm not going to pay you rent this month because I'm not using the room. And she got horribly angry and told me, how dare I, that she was counting on that money for household expenses, that I was ungrateful. The logic didn't exist. You know? I had to pay for a room I couldn't use, but I was supposed to be grateful for having a roof over my head. 2 weeks into this, I came home and found they had put a padlock on my room door. A literal padlock. I asked my mom what was up, and she told me Patricia had asked for it because the kids had their things in there, and she didn't want anyone going in to bother them. I exploded. I yelled at her that this was my room, that everything inside was mine. How could she think of putting a padlock on my space? And she yelled back that it was her house, and if I didn't like it, the door was open for me to leave. That night, I called my friends and told them everything. They couldn't believe it. One of them, my friend Carlos, told me to look for a room to rent immediately and that he offered to help me move. Another friend, Laura, told me to document everything, to take photos and videos, because I'm going to get worse, and I needed to have evidence of how the situation was. And they were right. The next day, I told my mom as calmly as I could manage, Mom, give me access to my room today to get my equipment out or I start looking for another place to live. She looked at me like I was the crazy one and told me, go ahead. Find yourself another place then. Let's see if you find something with the $400 you pay here. As if she was doing me a favor. You know? As if $400 plus utilities wasn't a considerable amount of money that she needed every month. And that same afternoon, I started looking for rooms to rent. I found one 20 minutes from there. It was smaller than the one I had at my mom's house, but enough for my equipment, and it cost $500 a month with utilities included. More expensive, yes, but at least it was going to be my space without anyone who could take it from me. I called, went to see it, and signed the contract that same day to move in the following week. When I got home, I told my mom, I found a place and I'm moving on Saturday. She laughed, thinking it was a joke. When she saw I was serious, she got serious and told me, don't be ridiculous. Where are you going to go? You can't afford to live alone. I showed her the signed contract and told her I could afford it perfectly, that in fact I was going to be better off because I was going to be able to work without interruptions and recover the clients I had lost because of her. That's when she got angry and told me I was being selfish, that Patricia and the kids needed me. How could I abandon them in their difficult moment? I reminded her that I hadn't abandoned anyone, that they had taken my room without my permission, and that I was just solving the problem that she had created. On Saturday, my friends arrived with a borrowed truck. Patricia opened the door, and I told her I was coming for my things. She went running to find my mom, and the two of them got all defensive, you can't take anything right now because the kids are playing in the room. Laura took out her phone and started recording. I told my mom, you give me the key to the padlock or I cut it. You decide. She was furious, but she gave me the key. We went into the room and it was a disaster. They had drawn on my desk with crayons. One of the monitors had a weird stain I couldn't identify, and my work chair had glue or something sticky on the seat. My siblings helped me pack everything, while Laura kept recording and Carlos made an inventory of everything, to have a record of what condition my things were in. My mom was at the door telling me I was ungrateful, that after everything she had done for me, I was abandoning her just like that I was going to regret it. Patricia was crying, saying her kids were going to be traumatized, seeing me take the things from the room where they were sleeping. When we finished loading everything in the truck, my mom told me I had to pay her the rest of the month because, according to her, I was leaving mid-month, and there was a verbal contract. I told her there was no contract, that I paid her month to month and I had already paid her up to the day I was leaving, that I didn't owe her anything. She threatened to sue me. Carlos, who's studying law, explained very calmly that she had no legal basis to do so, and that in fact she might owe me for damages to my property inside the room I was renting, and showed her the video of how my desk and chair had ended up. And my mom shut up. But the look she gave me was pure hatred. I left there, and honestly I cried the whole way to my new room. Not tears of sadness so much as accumulated frustration and rage. We got to the place. My friends helped me set everything up again, and by night, I had my setup working. The space was smaller, but it was mine. Nobody was going to take it from me. Nobody was going to move my things without permission, and I could work in peace. The next day, my mom started sending me messages saying I had to deposit the $400 for the month, plus my share of utilities, because I was still registered as living there, and she was counting on that money. I sent her a screenshot of the new place's contract, showing the start date, and told her I wasn't going to pay her for a room I wasn't using anymore. She got horribly angry and blocked me on WhatsApp. 2 days later, one of my aunts called me asking what had happened because my mom had made a Facebook post saying I had abandoned her in the worst moment, that I had left without warning, leaving her without money to pay the bills, and that I was an ungrateful daughter who only thought about myself without caring that Patricia and her kids were going through a difficult situation. The post had like 50 comments from people who didn't even know me, saying horrible things about me, calling me selfish, saying that young people nowadays don't value our parents, all that. Laura sent me the link to the post and told me to respond with the videos we had recorded. I thought about doing it but decided not to, that I wasn't going to get into that game. Instead, I wrote my own version on Facebook, without naming anyone specifically, telling that I had had to move because the room I was renting at my mom's house had been given to other people without my permission, affecting my work and my income, and that despite continuing to pay rent, I couldn't access my space or my equipment. I didn't post the videos, but I did post some before and after photos of my damaged desk. That post also had many comments, but more from people who understood and supported me, saying I had done the right thing by leaving. My mom got even angrier and sent me a message from Patricia's phone, saying I was exposing her personal problems publicly and that it was a shame to have me as a daughter. Several family members were divided. Some supported me, and others agreed with my mom. My siblings would talk to me secretly, telling me they missed me and that the house was very tense since I left. Apparently, Patricia was still there a month later with the kids and had no plans to leave soon. It's been like 2 months since I moved. My mom and I don't talk. Patricia is still living with her according to what my siblings tell me. I recovered the clients I had lost, got 3 new ones, and my work is going much better now that I have my quiet space without interruptions. Financially, I'm fine. The room is more expensive, but it makes up for not having the stress of the previous situation. My friends visit me often and say they see me much more relaxed. Last week, my sister texted me saying my mom had asked her if I was going to go to her birthday next month. I told her I didn't know. That first, my mom would have to apologize for everything that happened and acknowledge that she was wrong, but I doubt that will happen. My sister told me my mom still says I exaggerated, and that I left out of a tantrum. I guess there are people who will never accept when they're wrong. I don't know if I did right or wrong by leaving so suddenly, but what I do know is that I couldn't continue in a situation where my work and my space weren't respected, even though I was contributing financially. Sometimes I still feel guilty. Like I wonder if I should have been more patient, more understanding of Patricia's situation. But then I remember that nobody was understanding of my situation, my work, my needs. And that helps me confirm that I made the right decision. You know? My siblings come visit me often and they love my new place. They say when they turn 18 they're going to leave too because my mom is unbearable and Patricia practically took over the house. At the end of the day, I'm fine, I'm working, I'm paying my bills, and I have my peace of mind back. And that, I guess, is what matters.